Tinfoil hat. Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
Good morning, Swarm, and welcome to Tinfoil Hat. You know I am. You know what I'm here to do. I'm here to
Rah!
Yes, good to be back in the saddle with the whole crew. Joining me as always, Xavier Guerrero.
What's up?
And on the ones and twos, the man, the myth, the legend, Jay Nice, Johnny Woodard.
Hey, buddy.
Guys, great show today, huh?
Oh, it was killer.
It's deep, dude. We're talking bombs. Heaters. We're getting really into some
High heat.
hidden history of religion. It's probably one of my favorite episodes we've ever done.
I think so.
And I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you guys will give it a shot. Some of you guys might not be into the discussion, and I totally understand. Okay? And if you're not into it, it's fine. We have 1,000 more episodes coming out, okay? But I'm telling you, if you stay during this, it's pieces start clicking, bro. Pieces start clicking. So I want to thank Esoteric Eddie for coming on. I also want to take a quick moment to thank everybody who came out. Well, did I ever thank Vegas? Did we ever thank Vegas? I don't know if I
think so. Yeah.
Okay, but okay, if I didn't, thank you, Vegas. I also want to thank Nashville for crushing, and I want to thank Jefferson, Georgia for rocking. Guys, just want to say, guys standing out, don't mind me. But it's probably my best weekend of doing stand-up comedy. I got to be honest with you. Yeah.
Why?
Across
What
the
do you
board.
mean by that? Like, what was best about it?
I mean, here's the thing. I got standing out. The crowds are great. I got to see good friends. I got to see like Cheney, my Maria, my buddy Justin, Fadi. I got to see friends in Nashville. Nashville's nice, guys.
You thinking about it?
Nashville's almost the perfect thing that we want, which is lower real estate. And 15 minutes out of Nashville, you're in a small town.
Perfect.
Better than Chattanooga, I can tell you that.
We could chill in a small town, and then when we want big city life, we could drive into Nashville.
That's the way to do it.
The worst part of Nashville, parking is way too expensive. That's my biggest thing.
That country music thing, too. It's like...
Old country music is the shit, though,
yeah, but
dude.
it's a pop town now. It's all like Taylor Swift and...
Yeah, I get you. Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying it's the perfect thing. You can get a fat house for fucking super cheap.
How's the weather right now?
That's
It's
all
cold.
the South.
It's cold.
It's cold. But, dude, a lot of drunk white women.
Oh, they're my favorite.
Dude,
Thick.
you would crush.
Oh.
There's just bachelorette parties, just herds of them running around. Just you're going to drop burritos on all of them. Okay, I'm telling you. It was great. Jefferson, Georgia. Great to meet everybody. John Paul Rice came out. The whole crew.
Oh, cool. You saw him, huh?
Yeah.
That's
He's
great.
great.
Shouts
all
to that
these
guy.
guys. Sierra, the not Mexican, showed up. It's really cool to put faces. You know, Owen, the blue collar mystic, he was out there too. So good show. So it was great. If you want to see me live,
You saw a lot of people.
dude,
Wow.
they all came out. It was very weird. It's so funny, dude. It was very weird, man. Georgia's great, except for, dude, they drive in your ass. They are in your ass. They are eating your groceries. Like, boom. Out in LA, you get shot for that shit. Georgia, that's just how they're like, go. Get
I like it.
You like that?
Oh, because I'm
I'll-
usually the guy up the ass. I'm
I'll
like, get the fuck out of the
Dude,
way.
if you ever eat my groceries, bro, I will fuck you up, Johnny.
Yeah, but you're usually the one up the ass.
No, dude, I don't. That's one thing I don't do.
You drive pretty fast.
I do drive fast, but I try not to get in people's asses.
Okay.
Get my groceries, bro. I'm gonna fuck you up. That's all I gotta say. If you want to see me live, I got a couple shows. I got Simi Valley, March 2nd, which is, I believe, tomorrow night. And then the following night, I'm in Maleta. The crew is coming. Hammer of the Gods is here. Come get weird. Okay? I need you. I need it. I need it. Your own personal Jesus. Just go to SamTripoli.com. Grab all of your tickets, man. Also, I'm going to be in Laguna Niguel March 9th. March 25th, I'm going to be in Bisbee. I'm going to be playing Chuckleheads, and I'm going to see if Doug Stamp will do some time with me. I got 2 shows. And then Tucson on March 26th, and that's 2 shows as well. Come and hang out with me, man. Rockfin. Dude, Rockfin is the best place. $10. You get all of the premium content you want from everybody.
Dude, you want some good Ukraine shit news going on?
Oh,
Go
dude,
to Rockfin.
All of it, dude. All of it is all there, man. Everybody's dropping hammer on Rockfin. And it costs you $10 for everybody's stuff.
New broken sim.
When's that drop, Johnny?
Because of ads, it's going to come out tomorrow.
We got ads coming out. We're breaking out Broken Sim constantly.
It had to be this week, yeah.
It had to be this week. So, I mean, just go check it out. All the best. I mean, everybody you love is on there right now. I mean, We Don't Smoke the Same, Zero, Union of the Unwanted, Conspiracy Social Club, all for $10. I put myself out 6 episodes a week. 6 episodes a week. Not include what they do. Come on.
Exactly. What more do you want?
What more do you want?
Hardest working man in show business.
That is
Easy.
anywhere from 24 to 60 episodes a month for $10. 24 to 30 episodes a month for $10. I mean, dude, and that's just my shit. That's not everybody. There's not you will never be able to sleep if you try to consume all the episodes. All the great content you get for only $10 on Rockfin. If you're looking for free shows, Sammy T, he's got some free shows. Check them out. Just go to Sammy T. You got Tinfoil Hat, free audio, Broken Sim, Cash Daddies, Punch Drunk, Zero, my spiritual podcast. I'm telling you got to start checking out Zero. Dude, all this stuff will totally make sense to you what's going on in the world if you listen to Zero, Conspiracy Social Club, and Union of the Unwanted, all free. I have a 24-hour radio station on SamTripoli.com. I have all 3 of my specials, which I think I'm about to shoot another one.
Oh, shit.
I'm going to do one in New York City, one in Cortland, New York.
Yeah, with your family, right?
One's with all my kids' stuff, going to be with my family. And then I'm just going to do all my dirty, filthy stuff in New York City.
You thought of a name yet?
Yeah.
You gonna tell us?
Taking Arrows.
Taking it. I like that. Okay.
Taking Arrows is going to be the first one. And then my parents, hopefully me and the baby's mom will be back east with the kids. And that's going to be called 607 for Life, which is a homage to Brody Stevens' 808 Till I Die.
That's good. I like that.
So you get all my content there. Cash Daddies. I mean, all of it's there. All of it's. And Broken Sim's almost caught up as well. Just go to SamTripoli.com. If you want to support the show in t-shirts, man, just click tinfoil@t-shirts.com and Conspiracy Social Club t-shirts.com. Click either of those. Bam. They'll take you right to it. Right to it, dude. And guys, real quick, I want to say something. There's a couple of you cats out there leaving us super negative comments on iTunes. We don't care. It doesn't matter, brother. You're spending time writing stuff that does not matter to anybody. I just want you to know we see what you're doing. And I know who's sending you guys to do it. And listen, we don't care. They're at the kids' table, bro. We're at the adults' table. And the adults don't give a fuck what the kids are doing.
Yep.
We just don't. Leave all the negative comments you want. Nobody cares. We really don't.
Don't leave negative comments.
No, I don't care. I really don't.
I do. I'm sensitive. Please don't leave negative comments. Thank you.
Nobody cares.
Now they're going to go after
this
you,
show
Johnny.
is on fire right now. It's only getting better. I mean, the amount of listens that we got last week, according to Chartable, across the whole page, it's like a dream come true. It's a dream come true. We're living that life. You know why? Because we work in the glory of God, we practice abundance, and we put out positive energy, and we help those who are trying to help themselves. And at the end of the day, stupid ass fucking comments, don't fuck me. Well, why are you talking about? That's the last time I ever talk about. I just want you to know, I know what you're doing, and nobody cares. Enjoy oblivion. Enjoy just fading to nothing. Love you guys. Love you guys. This is great.
This was great.
Anything else?
Wonderful show today, though.
Dude, this is my jam. Here we got a guy who's done all the research telling you what I've been telling you the whole time. It's all about energy, bro. It's all about manifesting. At the end of the day, this show was about manifesting. I'm going to tell you, you're going to love it if you give it a chance. I know some of you guys are a little, you're very strict on your religion, and we respect that here. But listen to this show, man. I'm telling you, bro, it goes way deep. And at the end of the day, it's all about manifesting. We love you very much. Hope you enjoyed the show. Please check out my website for all my dates.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the
Hey guys, I want to tell you about our friends at Coinbase, okay? Much coin, such base. All right. If you have been following the cryptocurrency craze, now is the time to start getting involved. Coinbase makes it quick and easy to start your own portfolio and learn to trade like a pro, okay? Coinbase offers a trusted and easy-to-use platform to buy, sell, and spend cryptocurrency, all right? They support the most popular digital currencies on the market and make them accessible to everyone, which is true. I say that all the time. Like, if you're getting into the game, Coinbase is the best one to start. They work really well with your bank. The banks like working with Coinbase.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's huge. It's like at most of them, like, most of these other wallets, you have to buy it on Coinbase and transfer it over to them. So why even do that? Coinbase is the best one. Millions of people in over 100 countries trust Coinbase with their digital assets. Whether you're looking to diversify, just get started, or searching for a better way to access crypto markets, start today with Coinbase, okay? For a limited time, new users can get $10 in free Bitcoin when you sign up at Coinbase.com/tinfoil. Sign up at Coinbase.com/tinfoil for $10 in free Bitcoin, okay? This offer is for a limited time only, so be sure to sign up today. That's Coinbase.com/tinfoil. Okay, let's get into it. Today's going to be one of those conversations, right, where you're like, what you got to do? It's like, hey, man, these are the conversations that the comment section gets lit up. And it's usually where one guy leaves 40 comments, right? And you're like, okay, dude, chill. We get it. You don't agree. So what? These are the conversations we have, man. And I really want to have it. And I think it's a very important conversation because it gets into who are we, where are we, what have we been told, what's real, and what is a lie. And it's like, just hear it. You don't have to believe it. I don't know anything. I just love to hear the conversations. I mean, this is probably one of my favorite conversations, which is hidden history. I love hidden history because I think it's so important, especially when you look at what's going on in the Ukraine right now. It's like, are these Khazarians, dog? We dealing with some Khazarian shit? Sounds like it to me. Khazarians versus Tatarians, bro. Let's do it. So I'm very excited to have this next gentleman on. He is an author and a content creator. Please welcome author Eduardo F. Cano. Bam! Did I nail it or did I nail it? Brother, thanks for coming on. I really do appreciate it. Before we start, let's see your t-shirt so everybody who is watching the videos can see your t-shirt. CIA shot JFK. Bam! Look at that. You got a dude's head exploding on your shirt.
Holy shit.
Pink mist is all you see.
Now, why do you have those are the frame numbers? Are you saying that somebody reached back and shot him?
Yeah, this is from the Zapruder film. So those are like the actual individual shots on the Zapruder film.
So are you under the impression that the driver shot him?
Man, that kind of is what it may be. But I don't know. Ever since when they released the documents back in what was that? Wasn't that long ago, under the Trump administration, when they released the documents, I read them and I listened to this one dude just read through them on YouTube, and it was insane what I learned. And since then, a lot of those videos have been taken down, so it's kind of hard to see those videos and documents. Well, but
again, dude, you're talking about. They're trying to rewrite our history. They're trying to rewrite our history.
They're doing it in elementary already. Schools they're teaching kids things that didn't.
Yeah, I like my parents were both teachers. I didn't know what my parents voted until I was like graduated high school. I didn't know if they were Democrat or Republican, and they were my parents and their teachers. Like, we've weaponized all this shit, but that's a different conversation to have. I just think that when we take a look at everything going on in the Ukraine right now, it's like we're seeing like what is really going on in there. And like, you know, I again, this is a totally different subject, but if you want to listen to what's going on, check out Cliff High, man. He's dropping some bombs on BitChute about Khazarians and all this stuff. And so it goes into like, what is our history? What, you know, it's like, I'm a very spiritual man. I'm a very spiritual man. You know, I say this, like, I'm thinking about ending every show with glory to God. Like, that makes me feel like Johnny Smile. Like, it's a visceral reaction to that. Because we grew up into this time where, like, crazy, super, out there Christians and what that represents. And I was raised like, look at these crazy Christians and all.
I mean, that's how I grew up. So I wasn't really saying, look at these crazy Christians. I was thinking like, no, I'm a crazy Christian. You know?
Right. But like the extremists of it though, Johnny.
I mean, I was Southern Baptist. They didn't let women preach.
But they like to kill the gays and the sins and all that stuff that we grew up with a lot that I think was done purposely to get people to disconnect from God.
They didn't love the gays, I can tell you that.
What's that?
They didn't. A lot of people didn't love the gays I grew up with.
I totally get that. You know, but anyways, the point of the man, like, again, if you're Christian, I'm not anti-Christian. I'm anti what I believe is this long con game to get us to disconnect from God and what God really is. So, so this kind of gets into it, man. And this is again, love Christians, parents Christian. That might have been a weird opening to that. I didn't mean it like that, but like just the history of just spirituality and religion and all that stuff. It's Eddie, I swear to God, I'm going to lose it, man. Eddie Bravo just won't stop calling. I love him to pieces. I'll call him after because we're talking important stuff. So I want to get into the history of religion and what you believe, Esoteric Eddie.
Absolutely.
I just realized you wanted me not to say your real name, and I totally just said your real name earlier. If you want us to be, we'll do it.
No, it's all good. Okay. Yeah, my author name is Eduardo Cano, but my online, just like artist alias is Esoteric Eddie. But I just released a book last December titled The Lucifer Mystery Revealed. It's an academic perspective on the historicity of Lucifer within the church and the occult. Before we get into that, I just want to say that I've been studying the esoteric, the occult, the conspiratorial for like over 10 years. I'm 27 now. I started looking into this stuff back when I was like 12 to 14, when I got into like psychedelics, certain underground hip hop music that was bringing certain history to me, and just getting into books and videos, all that early stuff back in the day, like David Icke, Alex Jones, eventually you guys too, and just all that, early good stuff. But, and I grew up in a Catholic and Christian home, so I understand that viewpoint. And early on in my life, the Bible and its stories intrigued me. So, and I had some experiences as a young person too, coming across certain esoteric people or things that led me to this journey eventually of just wanting to discover the truth of our history and things. So I, as a scholar and as a person, really hold a neutral, unbiased viewpoint. I try to look at things just neutral and just look at them as facts.
Hey man, I think that's really well put. I think it's very important because we live in a time where everybody believes the stuff they were told their whole life is the absolute truth. And we're not here to whatever makes you a good person and you spread love and you're like that's all I'm about. I'm not here to tell anybody how to live their life or what we live in, because I think there's been a long, long con game year after year after year after year. And then on top of that, you have the decade, century after century. Then you have this kind of game of chess where it's like you had them coming out going, oh, these people are going to come out and say all this stuff, right? And that's being done on purpose as well.
What do you mean?
You see people from the 70s go, or the early 1900s, right? They were like, oh, this woo-woo stuff's going to start coming out, and that's being done purposefully to, like, disconnect us from God. And you're like, well, I mean, what if they have information that lets them know it's a little different? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I just don't know what example you're saying there, though. Like, what was in the early 1900s?
Well, you would see all these people coming out about how early, like, religious, like, I hate saying Christian because it's not about Christianity. It's just religious dogma people. We're all coming out saying that this kind of movement to get away from basically the church is being done purposefully to deceive people. It was happening very early. You see writings about it all the time, and you see people talking about, and they quote it. They're like, oh yeah, this guy talked about how this stuff was going to happen to get people to disconnect from God. And I'm like, well, I mean, I'm very spiritual right now. I never felt more connection with God in my life. But I'm not into organized religion. And again, I'm not telling anybody what they should believe. Again, if you believe, I have to do this disclaimer constantly because I feel like people are just looking for a reason to say I'm pushing something on them. I'm not. Do whatever you want to believe. But for me, it's like, I think it's kind of like we see it happening in real time right now, right? Where like, you're like, well, is Putin bombing places that have bioweapons sites? Oh, you're just a Russian agent. You're a Russian misinformation person. And it's just this demonization.
There's no sides to that thing, by the way. It's just both sides wanted a war. Both sides did the things necessary to make sure it
happened. There's no good guys in this.
No, but no, that's what I'm saying. Anybody who thinks that way, though, like sort of with a good side and a bad side, or you're on this side, it's just not seeing the full picture.
Well, there's all good. Like, everybody has good and everybody has bad. That's my humble opinion.
Yeah.
That's the law of duality. But, it's like some people have way more good and way more evil. It depends on who you are. But so I've always believed in that there's just like, it's just like there's a lot more going out on there. And if we just see what is up is really down in today's, culture that we live in, this like these elites, but what they've been pushing on us, why wouldn't you question things that seem super taboo, which is kind of what you want to get into, which is the misinterpretation of Lucifer's name.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about, Sam, is kind of like the demonization of kind of anything outside of the mainstream. And of course, the church has a terrible history of doing that, of course, through the Inquisition. And that's what caused, the Enlightenment era and the Renaissance to happen, is because we were held down so hard by the church for so long, literally being killed and martyred for just trying to think outside of that. And I go into that in the book, actually. I go into the Inquisition a little bit and how the Inquisition, interestingly, was actually started because there was a time period when the church changed its laws of succession from not allowing the people to choose the people in power in the church anymore, but those who are already in power to be able to choose who they wanted to succeed them. So when that happened, that's when bribery started happening, corruption. That's when all this, you need to pay us in order to go to heaven bullshit started happening. And then in that time period, the early pre-Inquisition era, there were certain martyrs that started to rise up against the church and started providing free services to the people, like free praying services, free healing services, free food, the things that the church should have been doing anyway. So the Inquisition actually started to kill those people, to kill those martyrs. Like I go into one in specific in my book. His name was Arnold of Brescia, one of the first martyrs to go up against this new corrupt church. And he was pretty successful, man. He was like running some of these priests out of towns and shit over there in Europe. But yeah, I get what you're saying. We got to move past this demonization of looking outside of the mainstream.
I mean, it looks like that. It's my whole opinion on the laws of physics. The laws of physics, which, by the way, are really a rewrite of the laws of the universe. The Kabbalah, you read them in the Kabbalah, and you can go. It's like everything is in motion. I mean, that's the law of physics. Like that's right out of the Kabbalion, bro. They've just and then they box you in to this way of looking at the world. And all these academics, man, oh man, if it's not in this box, it can't exist. And everything outside that box is what makes this world so amazing. This reality we live in. So why wouldn't that be about religion? Why wouldn't religion do that? So he's talking about the Catholic Church. Who are we talking about bringing all this fucking laws of the what did I just tell? What was the box? The laws of physics. Who brings the laws of physics? I guarantee ya, it's Jesuits. Guarantee you, it's the Jesuits, dog. If you go back far enough, and who are the Jesuits? Roman Catholic Church. And who are the Jesuits? The protectors of the fucking black nobility, dude, who have changed the way we look at everything. That is straight up my opinion, man. So we get into the misinterpretation of Lucifer. I've been talking a lot. People are probably losing it. So I'm going to shut up right now and let you do your thing.
Cool. Yeah, hyped to be here, man. It's like surreal. I'm like in the episode now instead of listening to it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. All right. So I'm going to break this thing down. Lucifer. Just give me a couple minutes. We're going to progress through the translation from Hebrew up into the English. Okay. So before I started writing the book, I just simply asked myself, where did we learn about Lucifer? Where did that first occur? And what I found was that the world, primarily the Western world, was introduced to Lucifer through the King James Bible, the English version. Now, of course, it goes from the English to the Latin to the Greek to the Hebrew, the original. Now, if we follow that progression, we see how we ended up at this conundrum. Now, originally in the Hebrew verse, we don't see the word Lucifer, of course. Now, the famous Lucifer verse that we were introduced to is Isaiah 14:12, which is the famous, "O Lucifer, how art thou fallen?" Right? But in the Hebrew, we see Hallel ben Shahar. Hallel was actually referring to a Canaanite deity, but the word Hallel can also mean something bright. That's what the name Hallel means, something bright. And then Ben, of course, is son in Hebrew. So it was Hallel, son of Shahar. Shahar was also a Canaanite deity, and Shahar means dawn. That's where we got Lucifer, son of the morning. Now, when we translated it from the Hebrew to the Greek, we did a proper translation. Where we would see Lucifer in the Greek, we would see phosphorus, which also means something bright, or can mean like fire, light. And then from the Greek, we went to the Latin. And in the Latin is where we first see the word Lucifer, because Lucifer is a Latin word. But in the English, it's only used once in that famous Isaiah 14:12 verse. And it's used as an uppercase pronoun or name. And in the Latin, it's used multiple times, but it's all used as a lowercase adjective. And but the Latin and the Greek were both proper translations from the Hebrew. They were Lucifer and phosphorus were all words that meant something bright. But once we went to the English, we use it as an uppercase for whatever reason, and it turned into a name. But what makes it all more interesting is that Hallel, the Hebrew word, can also be used to represent Venus. And the Greek phosphorus and the Latin Lucifer as a lowercase are words that can also be used to represent Venus. And now there's a reason for all of this. So Isaiah was a scribe and prophet, and he was an elite scribe and prophet. He was a part of the royal community. And so he was intelligent, he was educated. And when he was writing this stuff, he wasn't writing it about a Lucifer. If you go back and you read Isaiah 14, he's actually using this poetic, metaphoric language towards the Babylonian kings, because Isaiah was around 600 BC. And right around the time the Babylonians were coming down and taking the Jews captive into the Babylonian captivity. So Isaiah was writing this as a prophecy. He was condemning them, insulting them, pretty much prophesizing their downfall, the Babylonian kings. But it gets deeper. So Judaism can be broken down into two categories: pre-exilic Judaism and post-exilic Judaism. Now, pre-exilic Judaism, scholars have studied and concluded, was a very loose religion and community. They were pretty much borrowing or taking from the old world, the old Canaanite world. And prior to Judaism, there was polytheism. There was the polytheistic world of the Canaanites, where El was the head of that pantheon. Damn, and then you had like Baal, also known as Baal, who was kind of this notorious figure who would go around just doing all kinds of like escapades, trying to gain power. Right. So, and when Isaiah wrote Hallel Ben Shahar, he was actually also referring to an old Canaanite tale. Around the 1930s, we uncovered what are known as the Baal cycle text. And in those texts, we see the various stories of Baal doing these random little escapades. And there's one story in particular where Baal decides to step down from his throne, and all the gods are kind of like conversing, well, who's going to rule in his stead? And there's a deity in that tale known as Athtar. And Athtar, he's a younger deity, and he says, I'll step up to the responsibility. And he sits on the throne, but realizes that he's literally too short for the throne. His feet don't reach the floor. So it's decided that he's not fit to rule. So it's kind of like this weird little Canaanite tale.
Okay, I'm dying. I got to jump in. I tried.
We've been watching you.
I tried. All right, guys, I want to tell you about our friends at Athletic Greens. That's right. I started taking Athletic Greens because I wanted a fun way to get my multivitamins, and there is no better way than Athletic Greens. That's right. Tastes great, does the work, makes me feel amped. With one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. Okay, yeah. To help you start your day right, this special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, your recovery, your focus, and aging. All things holla at your boy. Okay, I love to throw a little orange juice, some Athletic Greens, some fruit in there, and then bang! Bang, as I do it, as I salute the American flag. And when I finish, an eagle lands on my shoulder, and we just sing the national anthem because I love Athletic Greens. That's right. It's a lifestyle, okay? And it's a lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, keto, or keto, dude. I do keto, you do keto, okay? Paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, does not matter. It is all good in the hood with them, okay? Contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals, no artificials, okay? Tons of people take some kind of multivitamin, all right? Why not make it the best of the best, okay? It's important to choose a very high quality multivitamin with high quality ingredients to get your body rocking, okay? It costs less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. Come on, dude. Athletic Green has over 7,000 five-star reviews, man. You know you want it. Right now, it's time to claim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition, especially heading into flu and cold season. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for multiple millions of different pills and supplements. Okay? Just one simple scoop. So first of all, Babylon. This notion of Babylon, it's like we have this notion of just sin and all that stuff. What was Babylon at that time?
Okay. So, of course, we had the Sumerians, and then we had Akkad, and then we had Babylon. So the Babylonians were like descendants of the Sumerians, and they were just a new kingdom. They were a new kingdom, a part of that Semitic lineage, and they primarily worshipped Marduk, who was, again, a Sumerian deity to begin with. So they were just kind of like a radical, militant new empire that was taking the old religions and the old ways of ruling and fortifying them to a way that the world had yet to see at that point in time, like a precursor to the Romans. And
so we're kind of like
stuff.
seeing the beginning of a structured, organized religion at this point.
Pretty much, yeah, like a very strong and strengthened religious empire.
So we got Baal. Now there's a lot of talk. Is Baal a bad guy? Is Baal this deity that everyone sees him now as this dark arts motherfucker?
He gets antagonized as that or scapegoated. If when we read the text, it's a lot more mundane actually, but he is kind of like this just free-spirited dude within the actual text. I'm talking about like Babylonian, Assyrian text. He is kind of hell-bent on power, and it's kind of similar to Marduk in that way, where he's just kind of like this younger deity who's looking to take over the empire and kind of like do away with the old gods.
Okay, so when we get into these old gods, a lot of us, obviously on this show, we discuss a lot of the, Saturn worship, Kronos, all that. And what Kronos, the myth of Kronos is that he heard that his children were going to be the ones that slay him. So every time, I believe it was Aphrodite, I could be wrong, Venus, maybe it was Venus, would have a child and he would eat the kids. And that's where child sacrifice basically come from. Do you have any thoughts on that? And if you do have a thought, is that where a lot of this comes from? These ancient beliefs?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we see a lot of symbolism in our world today that goes back to that. I mean, my book and my work is primarily like I try to write it in an academic, neutral perspective. But I mean, I'm a fan of you guys. I'm a conspiracy theorist at heart, or conspiracy realist actually at heart. So when I speculate, right, when I start to speculate, I mean, yeah, it's kind of like strange how a lot of these governments and elite, represent themselves by symbolism or ideals that can go back to these empires. And some of them even claim to have lineage going back to these empires.
So when you talked about the Sumerians, how far back do you study the Sumerians? Because now we're getting into Sumerian texts. Are we talking about Anunnaki? Like, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, we're getting way off subject, and I bring it back, but I'm so interested in the lineage of religion. Like it really, you got, and I want to talk about Judaism because I think Judaism borrows so much from Hinduism and what Hindu is. And then you get into when they start talking about Satanism, right? I mean, it just seems like they took Saturn, the worst of Saturn worshiping and the best of Hinduism. They put them together and they create this Dungeons and Dragons bullshit that all these nerd dorks do to try to get goth chicks, right? Like that's kind of how based on my kind of what I've interpreted. Does this go back to Anunnaki in your opinion, or is that like too weird of I mean, academic you versus conspiratorial you?
No, man. No, I talk about the Anunnaki in the book.
Oh, and snaps! I'm getting
and I was going to get into that, but we can kind of foreshadow that.
No. If you want to talk about it later, we can get. Okay, you got Book of Enoch. We're gonna get into that. All right. Yeah, so let me get into you. So Lucifer. Let's start with that again. What's the name? What does the name mean?
Before we get into that, the last thing I want to say about the Babylonians, and it's kind of on a similar topic. What's interesting is when the Babylonians took the Jews captive, it was their custom only to take the elite. They didn't take the peasants or the poor people or the laymen. They're accustomed to take the elite. So when the Jews were held captive in Babylon, it was all their elite prophets, their royal people. And I get into this in the book. when they were there, I mean, we can assume they were mingling with some of the Babylonian elite. And what's also interesting, it was Cyrus the Great, the Persian king, who came and took down the Babylonians and eventually freed the Jews. And that's when the diaspora officially started, meaning that there were Jews outside of the homeland willingly. And during that new Renaissance, when the Jews were freed and there was a new kingdom of the Persian Empire who were religiously tolerant, we can assume that the Jews started to mingle with the Persian elite. And actually, there's a lot of evidence and speculation for the Jews gaining a lot of their ideology from the Zoroastrians.
This is what I love, dude. I love all this shit. This is my favorite stuff, dude. I could talk this all fucking day. It's so interesting, man. Like this is such a black belt conversation, man. You cannot just drop this on anybody, dog. Right? It's just so like borrowing what, like the weaponization of like Judaism in modern culture, and how like if you talk about it and all suddenly you're pro-Holocaust and all that, which is like, to me, is just so insanity, because like you know, it's like I just did a show in Nashville, and the woman was just yelling about the Jews in the middle of the show, and like, you know, she was just like, you know, it's the Jews, and I'm like, you know, my whole opinion, they're middle management and scapegoats, in my humble opinion, and at the higher levels, it's like, if you know who they are, they ain't running shit, in my humble opinion, right?
Did she think it was Storm Tank?
No, it was just like, and it's so funny. You know, I just want to say to the guy that was there with her, I understand you, dog. I get you. Everybody watched him. They got in the car. They argued. He kicked her out of the car.
Oh, shit.
Respect, dog. I understand it, man. It's like, I understand when you got a wild woman and how you got to deal with that. And he's just sitting there. He's just like, ugh. And like, I'm sure the guy listened to my show, and he's just listened to his girlfriend just yell out loud in front of everybody. It's the fucking Jews, right? And she lifted up something, showed it to me, and then put it away. I go, what'd you just show? She's like, don't worry about it. I'm like, okay, interesting, dude. But
she definitely doesn't listen to the show. It's her dude that probably listens to the show.
I
She was
just
all lost.
tell you, dude, I love you, and I understand you, bro. And I go, are you mad at me? He goes, no. I go, okay, I get what's going on. I get what's going on here. But it's like this whole demonization of Jews right now. It's just like they're getting scapegoated by these people who have like been running the game for what, you know, Cliff High says 6,000 years, man. 6,000 years they've been running this fucking game. Shit. Getting people mad at Jews, blaming Jews for fucking everything. That's my humble opinion, man. And it's like super interesting, because you were talking about they're stealing from, that they're borrowing from this group. And it just seems like, you know, when you go to these old synagogues, there's the swastika, which is the Hebrew, which is the an ancient symbol for peace. It's a Hindu symbol for peace. It's all the same shit, dude. It's just everybody is just saying in different language, man.
Yeah. So the Lucifer terminological misunderstanding all started with that progression and that misunderstanding, us not understanding the old Canaanite world and what Isaiah was actually referring to. And so it progressed properly through the Greek, through the Latin. But then when we got to the English, that's when we fucked it up. And then we created this concept of Lucifer, and it didn't go unnoticed. Actually, Calvin, the famous Protestant reformer, wrote about it, saying, and I mentioned the quote in my book, saying that this is arrogant for us to just think that this Lucifer person is a character. It's obviously not, if you read the proper translations. And but it was the early church philosophers that kind of like got psychedelic on us and caused this to happen. For example, a huge part of this like westernization of Judaism was the Hellenistic period when the Greeks came in and started to take all these lands over. Now you had the Greek philosophers and the Greek elite mingling with the now fortified Jewish philosophers and rabbi, and that's when that started to mingle. And some of the early Hellenistic philosophers, some of them, they had Greek lineage and Greek lineage because we started to mingle and have babies together or whatever. And one of them in particular was a dude by the name of Aristobulus. Aristobulus, around 180 BC, he's quoted as saying that Greek thought originated in ancient Jewish philosophy. And the famous Philo, who was born like almost 100 years later, furthered this idea too. So from the Hellenistic period, the Greek philosophers started becoming influenced by Judaism, and they were like, wow, this is ancient, this is mystical, like this is obviously the source of where we come from. But little did we know that they had just like barely created themselves just a few hundred years ago, and we're borrowing from even more ancient sources. And we're going to get into that a little bit with the Anunnaki and the Sumerians. But the dude in the early church who really started to concrete the idea of Lucifer within the church was a psychedelic dude by the name of Origen Adamantius. Now, he was around 180 Common Era, and he wrote in a book known as De Principiis, and I have a quote here saying, "We are taught as follows by the prophet Isaiah regarding another opposing power who formerly was Lucifer. He might show by this that he had been at one time in heaven and had enjoyed a share in that light which all the saints participate." So here you have Origen Adamantius, who was later deemed a heretic for his ideas pertaining the book of Enoch. But here you have Origen Adamantius in the first couple centuries of Christianity, looking at the Isaiah verse and saying like, oh, wow, Isaiah is telling us that there's another force in the heavens known as Lucifer, and starts getting psychedelic and philosophical with it, which is cool. But had he known the actual history, he would have known that that was a mistake. All along, Lucifer never existed. It was a translational error. Isaiah was referring to Athtar, Hallel, the Canaanite deity, but he was also referring to Venus, because Venus's celestial mythology in our skies is that it is the brightest celestial object in the morning preceding the sun. Every morning, depending on where you are in the planet, you will see Venus before you see the sun. So Isaiah was saying to the Babylonian kings, you are like Venus, you are like Astar. You think you are bright and that you are something of importance, but just wait until the sun comes and overshadows you.
Hold on. So you're telling me that there's a misinterpretation and that Lucifer never existed.
Lucifer never existed.
Damn.
But don't you think it benefited the church to invent Lucifer?
Well, they
to create
I
hell?
always say that. I go, Satan never existed. Satan never existed. Now, do you believe that they create Satan so that they could create a hell,
to give us fear. Give us some fear. Oh, you're going to go to hell.
Oh, you jerked off to your teacher at school. Oh, loves that Satan.
Lucifer.
Right? No. Well, it's so weird, but that's so. Now, do you believe? I believe there's source, right? That's what I believe in. Source, God, source, the universe, right? And then there's a bunch of middle management motherfuckers that are like in between us and source, and their job is to they either were created or something happened where they're here to help us find the light or deceive us from the light. Thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I do get into that in the book, and that's pretty much Gnosticism is what we're explaining to an extent. But I'm sure you're familiar with it, or the audience is familiar with it. But of course, I'll just briefly summarize. Gnosticism is a broad term for different schools of Christianity within the early years. The more popular one were like the Dead Sea Scroll community. That's where we get like the Gnostic Gospels, where they talk about Yaldabaoth and the Demiurge, and that exact idea, how there was the source, the creator, and then from that source, a split of its consciousness broke off, and it became Sophia, a female consciousness, and Sophia broke off, and she created this realm for fun, pretty much. And in that realm, she accidentally created Yaldabaoth, or the Demiurge, which was like this ugly, I guess you could say, demonic type creature, and she kind of like was spooked by that, so she just dipped out of that realm and left it there.
Oh, damn, dude. We're somebody's petri dish.
Yeah, and that realm that she left it, the demiurge in, is our universe. So the Gnostics, and even going back to pre-Gnosticism and Plato's philosophy, and even like in Zoroastrianism, all the mystics of all of time, and even now, scientists are realizing that we live in some sort of simulation. We live in some sort of realm that we are, quote, like more or less trapped in. And the goal, as the mystics of ancient have tried to painstakingly tell us and teach us, is to get out of this, to enlighten and ascend out of this. But those are kind of more or less my thoughts on it.
This is great, bro. I'm all about this, dude. I'm about all this. This is what this is what I think. It's what I believe. It's so interesting, dude. It's so deep, and it's so. But when you think about this stuff, like, it's just like it really starts to free stuff up, man.
I was actually going to ask you. You said it got translated to Latin, right? Lucifer, because it's loose, right? Like light.
Yep. Absolutely, yeah.
So
Lucifer,
it was a light. Yeah, it comes from just determine where the word started. Lucifer means the light, just like he said in the show.
So Lucifer was just
a light. It was supposed to be a light in the text on the first one, right?
Yeah. So the Hebrew word Hallel, it means, it's a word that can mean, it's a name, but the meaning of the name is something that's bright. It's like calling somebody like bright, like, hey, what's up, bright? Hallel means bright, but it's got multiple meanings. Not only does it mean bright, it was actually the name of a Canaanite deity known as Athtar, but it was also a name that could be used to represent the planet Venus, which again is the brightest celestial object in the sky preceding the sun.
Wow. And then you get into some stuff about like whether there was a time when Saturn was seen as a sun, and that there were two suns, and that the sun worshiping Ra wasn't about worshiping the sun we understand, but actually worshiping Saturn. It goes all the way back again, dude. Right? That's some crazy shit, dude.
You think it was like, I mean, this might sound crazy. You think it was closer?
What do you mean?
Like Saturn was closer?
I don't know, man. I just, then you start getting into like the electric universe and did some kind of power surge, knock it off and send it in a different direction. So now we only have one sun, but some people think we have two suns. It's so deep, dude. That's the thing about this, right? You start having this conversation and start peeling back this onion. You think there's a center to the onion, and there's just not a center to the onion. It just keeps peeling. It just keeps peeling.
Yeah, man. It gets wild too. Before we start getting into like the occult and all that other stuff, just to kind of finish off the early church.
Yeah, dude.
There's another reason why the Latin version might have used Lucifer in that verse. Okay, so the dude that translated the Latin version was known as Eusebius Hieronymus, famously known as Jerome. He's one of the most highly regarded like early church fathers because he translated the Latin Vulgate, which the Roman Catholic Church used. Now, this was in the 300s during the Constantinian dynasty, when Constantine took all the pagan religions and formed them under the Christian Empire. And that's a whole nother conversation. But what's interesting is during that time period when the Latin Vulgate was being formed in the Constantinian dynasty, there was a schism known as Arianism. And Arianism taught that Christ was just a regular man who was given authority by God. So Christ became a title. So that could be used to justify any other man via Constantine being given the same authority. Now,
so is that Christ consciousness? Is that what we're talking about right now?
No, not necessarily. This was a schism within the institution of the church back in that time that was saying, because at that time, Christianity was still forming, right? You had the Council of Nicaea. They were trying to decide what books are we going to use? What are we going to teach as a unified religion? How are we going to go about this to dictate and control our subjects, pretty much? So all these priests and bishops were arguing over who is Christ? What is Christ? What is the meaning of Christ? So the Arian doctrine taught that Christ was just another man who was given authority by God. So that opened up justification for anybody like Constantine to be given the same authority to be Christ on earth. So there were OG bishops that were like not down with that, who were known as anti-Arians. And get this, one of the leaders of the anti-Arian movements in that time, during Jerome's time, when he was translating the Latin Vulgate, his name was Saint Lucifer.
Say that one more time. Say that one more time.
All right, so
for the people in the back, meaning XG. Say that one more time.
So while the Latin Vulgate was being written by Jerome and the Constantinian dynasty was putting together the Christian empire, and there was a schism of Arianism justifying that Constantine could be Christ on earth, there was a group of anti-Arians against that. And one of the leaders of that movement was known by, his name was Saint Lucifer.
So what you're telling me is they took this dude's name and tried to demonize it.
Pretty much.
Damn, dude. Johnny, reaction.
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. The enthusiasm is killing me. Dude, this is the best. I'm
It's
all
just a
about
lot,
this.
man. And you know, it's a lot. It's
It
like
is a
so
lot.
dense, like you were saying.
It is. It's like we are digesting a lot of data.
Yeah.
A lot
Old
of
shit.
data.
Old shit.
Old shit, dude. So let's get into the occult version of Lucifer.
Absolutely. All right. So, of course, the church kind of took that with Organ Adamantius and kind of ran with it and started developing this concept of Lucifer as an actual character and Satan, and kind of coupling them together mistakenly. And then the person who was more responsible for bringing that concept into the occult was Eliphas Levi. Pretty sure we're all somewhat familiar with him. I actually got a documentary on him on my YouTube, Esoteric Eddie TV. Interesting guy. So he's most famously known for drawing the Baphomet illustration, right? We're all pretty familiar with the Baphomet, and all the different things it's been used and accused of being. But Eliphas Levi was actually farthest from being a Satanist or any Crowley-esque kind of guy. He was actually like a hippie Catholic mystic, you could say. He was actually a Catholic studying to be a priest, but just had very psychedelic ideas about God that were in line with the institution. And he didn't like the mundane robotness of the church and how they just disciplined him to be soulless. So he pretty much left the church and gave up his career as being a priest. And after he did that, his mom committed suicide.
Oh.
Yeah, and he's a very important figure in the occult. I mean, Crowley actually stated that he felt he was the reincarnation of Levi. And Blavatsky, Helena Blavatsky, the Theosophical founder, she always regarded Levi as one of her authorities on knowledge and wisdom. So his impact on the occult goes unprecedented, especially with the image of Baphomet. And just quickly on the Baphomet, he states exactly what it meant to represent. He was also an illustrator, an artist, and he was actually twice by the French government for his writings on God and spiritualism.
He was what? By the government? Sorry, cut out.
He was jailed twice by the French government for his writings on God and spiritualism. Pretty cool dude, pretty radical. Not like Satanist at all. He was all about spiritualism and love and trying to build a connection with God. But the Baphomet, he drew that as a daunting image, because spiritualism and occultism is daunting. It's something that you should not tread lightly. But he drew that up as a symbolism between the duality of man's beast nature and his spiritual nature. So that's actually what it represents.
That's super interesting. You're not the first person to tell me that like they've demonized that symbol as well. You know? That's what we've been told. Again, I know there's some people freaking out right now and all this stuff, but I'm just telling you, what is up is really down. It's been bombarded with us for a while. You know, I mean, like
talk to us about Crowley a bit. How do you feel about?
How do you feel about Crowley? Because I want to fight him for charity.
Oh man, I learned about him when I was back in like high school, and like most people who first hear about him, I was fascinated. Thought he was crazy and wild, and then started reading more about his personal life. And yeah, not the best dude. definitely. Not the
I
best.
think
dude.
he's a hack. I think he's the Carlos Mencia of occultism, where he's just jacking other people's stuff, remixing it Mexican, and then putting it fucking out. And then everyone's like, oh my God, you're so smart. But because he was such a rich kid, and he was connected, he was able to put it out, and then you got all these fucking dumb fucks in Hollywood like worshiping like he was something. Of course they are, because they're all rich kids too, and just rich kids love rich kids. And the truth of the matter is that like he was just a hack, bro. He's just a giant hack, jacking people's stuff, and I'd fight him for charity, even though I think he knew some martial arts. I'd still fight him. How big was he? Does anyone know how big?
I wonder. He looked kind of heavy.
You can take him now.
Well,
so now I could.
So you were turned off by his personal life. Is that right?
Yeah. But again, my work is to be neutral and just look at things. So I mean, my personal opinion on him, yes, I have the same opinion. I think he was pretty lame and just kind of just privileged and spoiled. But I only thing that I give my hats off to him and anybody who that he tried to venture, to these other realms. So anybody, whether they're Christian or not Christian, when they take it upon themselves to try to venture beyond this realm to bring back something for us, I mean, that's tough work. And it drove him insane. It drove him and a lot of the occultists insane, and literally was like drove them to their sad and terrible deaths of just being disheveled drug addicts. So that stuff is not, to be tread lightly, magic and dark arts and all that stuff.
That's why I say, man, it's like you're watching these kids. They're singing songs. They don't know what they're saying, what they're doing, how they're dancing.
I think some of them know.
I think some do.
The rappers.
It's like, who was that? Was it you brought up the Chris Rock bit about how like all these girls are dancing the songs that are just completely degrading them, but because like the beat is great, they're like, yeah, it's great, yeah. It's just like same thing with these kids, man. Words are magic, and how you use them is very important. I mean, you just kind of look at how they've done with culture and everything. They've just completely taught us the opposite of what is, in my humble opinion, the way we're supposed to live our life in the light. And they've done it purposefully. So they got us all saying and doing stupid stuff because we don't know whether we're coming or going anymore. And it's super crazy. So I want, do you got any more on the occult, or can we get into Sumerians? Because I'm all about that.
Yeah, this last thing is so Levi was kind of that bridge between the church and the occult, because I was saying he was still a Catholic mystic. He was a Christian mystic. He had a lot of respect for the church and the Bible and God, but he started to build that bridge to the occult. And he wrote about Lucifer too, but he was smart and he knew about the mistranslation. He was not fooled by it. He knew Lucifer wasn't real, but he found a lot of potential in the concept and philosophy of Lucifer and just used that to build up occult philosophies. Shit. And later on, everybody else kind of did the same thing.
So fucking interesting, dude. It is so interesting, man. You just blew my mind today, dude. So interesting. So this is what I really love to get into, man, is the Sumerians.
Absolutely.
And the connection to all this, because I think it's super important, man.
Yeah, so the Christians and the occult use different verses in the Bible to build this Lucifer character, right? They say, well, look, if you put this verse and this verse together, then it's proof that Lucifer is real. And in the occult, particularly, they use the Garden of Eden story a lot. They use that a lot to show that Lucifer was benevolent. They say, well, look, I mean, God didn't want us to elevate. Lucifer gave us this knowledge. Obviously, he's benevolent. There's some good in him, right? So in the book, I break down the Garden of Eden story. We know Lucifer was never real. We know that the early church got it wrong, got it psychedelic, created this concept, and then the church through Levi also made it fanatical. However, there was a Lucifer-like character in our past, and that could be understood if we study the Garden of Eden story. Because in the Garden of Eden story, we see that, this character decided to go against God's will to provide us knowledge. Now, who is that character? When we go into that, we find something pretty fascinating. Now, first and foremost, the Bible, specifically Genesis, again, borrowed from the ancient world. When we uncovered the Sumerians in the 1800s, the early scholars, when we uncovered them and started to decipher their text, it was clear then, as it is now, that the book of Genesis borrowed from the Sumerians. We borrowed the flood story from them. We borrowed the creation story from them, and many other things. So when we take that into consideration and look at the Sumerians, we can piece together who these characters are in the Bible that were summarized, right? So in the Sumerian stories, as many of us may know, the god of knowledge, the god of wisdom, who was also represented as a serpent, was none other than Enki. Now, for those, and before I go into that, in the book of Genesis, when the word serpent is used, the word is not snake. They use the word nakash. And now Hebrew is very playful. A lot of words have multiple meanings, and they use those words specifically for those multiple meanings so that those who have the deeper understanding know what's really being said. So the Hebrew word nakash can be used to denote the word serpent, or also wise one or diviner. So it was almost like they were kind of like insulting and playfully calling this person who was wise, also calling them a serpent. Now, of course, if we take a look at the flood story in the Bible, it's one God has a strange, capricious nature who's like, I love humanity, but I want to kill them. Right. And the reason for that is because the flood story was taken from the Sumerian version, where it was two gods, Enlil, who wanted to kill us, and Enki, who wanted to save us. So when you understand that, take that, and now go back to the Garden of Eden story, where in the Genesis, it's this God and this serpent. And we now understand that was Enlil and Enki. Now, just to go through some things here, in the Sumerian words, there was actually a term equivalent to the Hebrew nakash, and that was ushum gal, which literally means great or wise serpent. And the Sumerians called some of their deities ushum gal, and Enki was one of those. And Sir Henry Rawlinson, who was considered the father of Assyriology, the studies of Sumeria, Akkad, Babylon, Assyria, said of Enki that he functions as the source of all knowledge and science, and is figured by the great serpent, which occupies a place among the symbols of the gods. And just time and time again, these early Assyriologists are saying that as they read the text, it's obvious that Enki is the god of wisdom, the god of knowledge, the god of mysteries. So who other than this Ashumgal, this god who is clever and witty and always going against the god's wishes, to be the serpent than Enki?
It's super duper interesting, right? It's like, so one of the big shows early on in Tinfoil Hat is Matt LaCroix coming on talking serpent versus eagle, and what the serpent represented. And it fits right into exactly what you're talking about, which is a serpent represents knowledge, and the eagle represents authoritarianism. And that is the battle forever. And that really makes sense to me. The serpent doesn't just mean serpent. It means wise one. Like, pieces just start clicking together for me, right? It's just...
I still can't believe that they literally just grab other stories and remake them their way.
Why, dude, that's all Puffy Combs
They're
did.
not even creative, can't make their own stories up?
Dude, no. I mean, nobody does that. That's just like my whole theory is that everybody's saying the same thing. They're just saying it in a different language, in a slightly
Well, it might not even be a lack of creativity. I mean, in a lot of cases, it might be they're just trying to describe the same thing, like you're saying, right?
100%.
Yeah.
They saw a car crash. Everybody has their own description of what happened. And people get so lost on that. And then you got all these atheist piece of shits. Remember, I'll go, oh, dude, look at this. It's the same story. This language, that language. And this, it's like, yeah, dude, because it's the same story.
It's a feature, not a bug.
Yeah, I love this, dude. I'm all about, I mean, the Sumerians and what that represents. And then we get into Mesopotamia, bro, and what's going on. Like, look at these wars that are going on. What's going on in the Middle East? We're all, you got Iraq, Iran, Israel, Syria, right? This is Mesopotamia. Weapons of mass destruction, bro. Is that a portal? Maybe. Stargate? Maybe. Then we get into what's
Time
going
travel?
on right now in Ukraine, right? Like that's Khazarians. Kazakhstan or whatever it's called. You know? I mean, like, it's like, to me, just pieces start to click. And you start realizing it was never about oil. It's all about, this is a spiritual war to wipe away all connection to our past history. That's what I think it is, dude.
Absolutely, man. It's interesting how, like, yeah, these same stories are being told, but different versions. It's almost like they want to keep the Anunnaki, whoever these deities were, they want to keep the control, but they have to like update the software, every so often years. And that software is the religion, and then the hardware is like the rites and the ceremonies. And yeah, it definitely gets into that weird metaphysical realm, which we'll get into, I guess, in the closing of the show, when we talk about, archetypes and stuff.
Yeah.
Before I got into that, kind of wanted to just segue into the Book of Enoch.
Yeah.
Unless there was any other questions you had on the Sumerians or
No,
Anunnaki.
dude.
No, you were great.
I totally get the Sumerian stuff and what they represent, and is that the earliest form of man. Like, who created the Sumerians? They just came out of the caves, full language, tools, everything. Like, what does that represent, dude? That to me is the most interesting shit. It's the most interesting stuff.
Yeah, the occult, I have a chapter in my book called The Faults of the Occultists. And the faults of the occultists is that they didn't know about the Sumerians, because Eliphas Levi was in the late 1800s, as well as Blavatsky, and then Crowley came, and then the rest of them. We barely uncovered the Sumerians in the 1800s. So they couldn't have fully understood the Sumerians in the way that we are privileged to know them now. So, but all of them had an intuition about the Atlantean period. All the early occultists talked about the Atlantean period. Crowley, Blavatsky, Levi, and more specifically Blavatsky. She talked about what she called the Kabiri. It's a term that she used for these ancient gods from the Atlantean era who left their heavenly abode and risked it all to give us knowledge and all this stuff. So their intuition was correct. They just didn't know really how to connect it because they didn't know about the Sumerians yet. But now we know that, yeah, there was a race of beings from our past, according to our ancestors and what they wrote down, that came here, created us, and gave us knowledge. And some of them went against the wishes of the others to give us more knowledge. And what makes it really interesting and kind of real is that King Ashurbanipal, the last Assyrian king, whom there's all kinds of museums of today, has a stone tablet that you can view, in which he says, "The God of scribes has bestowed upon me the skill to read and write the languages from before the flood."
Yeah. Where is that tablet?
I know the British Museum, they every now and then they do a whole fucking show on Ashurbanipal, like rooms and rooms on rooms.
That is on my list to go see. I want to see that shit, dude. So let's get into this.
Would you go check out the Vatican?
Oh, I'd love to go to
You'd go?
Yeah. I would love to go. And then I'm going to try to sneak down and get into that library. Go, give me the goods. Give me the loot. Give me the loot. You know? That's it. If I could do anything, I'd be like, you could do anything. What would you do? I just want to be alone with somebody who knows all the languages, and we just sit in the library of the Vatican and just, what the fuck is going on, dog? What do
Does it make you sad to know that'll never happen?
I mean, in my lifetime, probably not. Yeah, but I would love to know, dude.
The only way that'll happen is if you go in after they destroy the place, and you're just kind of picking through the rubble.
What if I run for Pope and win? What if I just run a really?
You should throw your hat in the ring.
Yeah. Throw it out there.
Yeah.
Right. Run a nice.
What would your Pope name
lemonade
be?
Stand campaign where I finance and sell lemonade.
What would you pick for your Pope name?
Pope moons over Miami, just like Pope Benedict.
Would you be a cool Pope?
I would be cool Pope because I'd be like, open the doors of the library.
Yeah.
Everybody gets to read.
Cool Pope's always the bad Pope, though.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
No.
I don't trust it.
I'm going to be, don't fuck with me, Pope.
Interesting. Okay.
Right?
So would you would open things up, though?
I would be like, let's read these books, bro. Tell me what we got.
Because I have a feeling they would like take
Not
you.
be cool with that and try
Yeah.
to take a couple shots at me. But
yeah.
they would realize that by then I'd have a black belt in
Oh,
Krav
look,
Maga.
the cool Pope has instant Alzheimer's. Funny. Brady's much.
I'd have like 90 fucking. I'd have 90 like
Bodyguards?
They
like
treat,
Navy SEALs around me at all time.
they would treat you like Trump. They wouldn't show you the aliens. They're like, this. We can't.
I would take the aliens with my band of Navy SEALs. Right?
You think the Vatican they have aliens here? Like
Oh, yeah.
in the cupboard somewhere.
Maybe, dude. Maybe. I mean, they got. I mean, like, dude. I mean, you get in. That's another fun discussion. Okay, so let's get into the Book of Enoch and the fallen angels. Talk to me.
Yeah, man. So this is where things get a little weird with the church again, suppressing knowledge.
Starts getting a little weird because I'm all about that. I already thought we were in Weird Town. I didn't know there was a couple more exits.
Oh man, there's more.
This is
Yeah,
great.
so the Book of Enoch used to be highly regarded, like in 200 BC, 100 BC. So much so that it's been said that it was like a personal book of Saint Paul. Like Paul would carry around the Book of Enoch. Some scholars have concluded, and there are some statements said by Jesus in the book or in the Bible that are actually references to the Book of Enoch. And in Jude, actually, let me see if I can pull this up. So in the book of Jude 14 through 15, there's an exact quote from the Book of Enoch. And it actually says that it is quoting from the Book of Enoch. So the Book of Enoch used to be highly regarded as canonical. And it makes sense because Enoch was, I believe, the great-grandfather or grandfather of Noah, one of the two. So it would make sense for us to want to pay attention to what the fucking grandfather or great-grandfather of Noah was trying to tell us. And what makes it interesting, it's not like any other biblical story because it tells us a detailed story of the fallen angels and who they are by name and what they did. And in the Book of Enoch, these angels are corporeal or have physical bodies, are beings. They are pretty much like Anunnaki, the same way the Sumerians talked about them. But as soon as the church started going through its Reformation in the Constantinian era, the Book of Enoch was ousted. It was excluded to the point where it was even deemed heretical and banned from being taught or read or circled within the Constantinian dynasty. And the reason being is because of the idea of angels being corporeal or physical. And it's kind of strange. And so further, as the church progressed, they got away from the idea of fallen angels being physical beings that once actually interacted and mingled with us, possibly creating bloodlines, and kind of transformed it to just them being spiritual beings. It's a fantasy that never really kind of happened. But the Book of Enoch, if we take it as, if we take it as real, and we understand that it was highly regarded by even Jesus and Jude and Paul, and we understand that these stories go back to the Sumerians, then what we're looking at is kind of a cover-up of our ancient past and the Anunnaki.
Oh my God.
It's wild.
I'm all about that.
You love that shit.
Is there an audio version of the Book of Enoch?
Oh, there's got to be.
Just I got nine. I got nine. I just bought your book. I got to read that. I just want I can't watch television anymore. Like I feel like with this Ukrainian war
It's
right
on
now,
YouTube. Yeah.
that I am right back to where we were during the early COVID days, where everything's Ukraine, which is to me the surest sign that we're being lied to.
Descending columns
Right?
of fire. Neither its extent or magnitude
Yeah, some
could
guy
I
reading
see,
it on YouTube.
nor
There you
could
go,
I
right there.
And they
conjecture.
couldn't get a better guy.
Then
He
I
sounds
said,
like the guy
"How
from the Twilight
fearful is
Zone.
the place."
It's the perfect dude. to
He
read
really
that.
doesn't. Listen.
Then Uriel answered me, one of the holy angels who was with me, and said unto me, Enoch, why hast thou such fear and
Stop
affright?
it. I gotta listen
Not
to
bad.
it.
Yeah, not bad.
I'll listen to this, dude. That's my jams.
That
You
is,
should start. I mean, I'm not that you should start another podcast, but a book club. You be going through books like crazy.
Didn't you used to do that?
Yeah, welcome to my book club of books I bought but I haven't read yet.
No, that would keep you accountable of reading them. If you had a book club, be like, hey, Sam.
But I can't read fast enough.
Oh, really?
I just can't read
What about
fast
audio, though? You can do audio.
I could do audio, but then I'd have to dedicate myself to audio. And I like to, even if it's 10 pages, I like to read. I
do it while you're on an airplane, though, driving
I'm
around.
very bad
He
at
loves to sleep on the airplane. He's the king of sleeping on the
the only way I
airplane.
could do it.
I
Time
do too.
travel.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
I'm right there with you.
So Book of Enoch, Fallen Angels. I'm all about that, dude. Like a lot of people are angels and demons, the same thing, all that stuff.
Yeah. Before we get into like entities in the spiritual realm, I recommend reading R.H. Charles's version of the Book of Enoch. It's like the most popular and like the best version, translated version. But also, just a quick point: J.T. Millick, who also wrote an extensive piece on the Book of Enoch back in the 70s, is regarded as like the most scholarly, a conclusion on the Book of Enoch. States that it's clear to him that the Book of Enoch came before the Bible, because the church will try to tell you that the Book of Enoch came after the Bible, so it's all fanatical. But J.T. Millick, who wrote the most extensive piece on it, like digging into it, concluded that no, the Book of Enoch precedes the Bible, and that the Genesis story where you see the Nephilim and the sons of God and that weird thing is a very short summary of the entire Book of Enoch.
Oh my God, I'm so into all this. Dude.
Absolutely.
I'm totally down with that, man. It just makes everything seem so much more interesting. Now, when you talked about the universe, then they broke off and they made a female version, and she broke off. She made the demiurge, right? Demigod. How do you pronounce it?
Demiurge.
Is that in the Book of Enoch?
Not necessarily, no.
Where do I get all that story?
Gnosticism.
Is there a book that says that?
Yeah, well, Gnosticism is a broad term for a couple different types of Christianity that were like had this psychedelic viewpoint. But the demiurge comes from what is known as the Dead Sea Scrolls. So if you want to read the Dead Sea Scrolls or the Gnostic Gospels, you'll see some of that in there. Most of it is in there, yeah. But for the Cathars, for example, the Cathars were a form or brand of Gnostic Christians in the early, like I believe, 1200s, and they were very psychedelic and believed that the church was the incarnate of Satan on earth. Like they were very anti-church, and they were all massacred by the church in what is known as the Albigensian Crusade, for their beliefs on the church being Satan and stuff.
Yep. I mean, it's just crazy. It's just crazy how much blood has been spilled in the name of a loving God.
Right.
I just blows my mind.
Yeah, Graham Hancock, he talks a lot about Gnosticism. He's got some cool talks on YouTube. He breaks it down pretty good.
He's great, huh? Graham Hancock
Yeah.
is wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Love to have him on.
I love to have him on. Sometimes the name tinfoil hat turns people off. They don't realize.
Yeah, especially guys an academic like
Yeah,
that.
I don't want to be a tinfoil hat.
Older guy.
I think he was the first guy that got Rogan not to use the Fleshlight commercial when he was on. He told Rogan, I don't want the Fleshlight commercial at all when I'm there. And I think Rogan was like, all right, I understand. But...
Dude, you can sell anything if I'm
I was about to say,
Rogan.
yeah, by the way, Fleshlight, if you want.
Yeah, where's Fleshlight? Let's sell some fleshlights.
Or use them.
Yeah, so the fallen angels, right?
Yeah.
They're demons. Like, we have this story about this war in heaven. What are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, the war on heaven is a strange thing. Some people have pulled that from the Enuma Elish, which is a Sumerian tale, which if you read it, it's an epic that uses gods, but it's actually telling you the creation of our solar system personified as gods. And it sounds like a war in heaven, but it's actually when our solar system was being created and planets didn't have their orbits yet and were like crashing into each other and all this crazy shit. But I've also seen people who have like remote viewed the war in heaven. And they've said that sometime in our distant past, there was a war between Earth and people on Mars. I haven't studied that deeply, but there is something there.
Remote viewing into heaven?
Yeah, dude.
That's
Now you're
fucking
getting
wild.
the weird
Yeah,
shit
yep.
that we are all about. We're all about. So what's the weirdest shit you got about the book, Enoch? You said we're going to hear some weird shit. What's the weirdest shit you got?
Yeah, well, when we study these things, they're pretty mundane, to be honest. But when we take under consideration the implications of what is being said about us, it's pretty big. Because, for example, we still to this day don't know how we went from basically caveman to Homo sapien. We don't know how that transition occurred. We can't pinpoint it. Like you said earlier, all we know is that one day with this full-fledged civilization, building fucking pyramids and writings and all this stuff. But when we listen to what our ancestors said and wrote down, they tell us exactly what happened. They said that gods created us. But so who they were, why they did it is up for interpretation. I don't believe they're the creators of everything. They might have just interfered and genetically created the Homo sapien race. But what makes this all very interesting is the idea of archetypes and the collective subconscious. I don't go into the book because it's something that I stumbled upon afterwards. It's something that I'm starting to realize, and it kind of connects with aliens and UFOs too. So check this out, right? So of course, Lucifer wasn't real, but we've created that concept and character, and he might as well be real at this point because of how much power it holds over people's minds. And it just how we don't really know what real is, right? We postulate that a lot in today's scientific world. We're now starting to understand that the underlying fabric of our reality is somewhat of a simulation. That doesn't mean we're in a video game. It just means that there is a fractalized numerical system that is creating everything that we are in, and it's happening through like a computation almost deliberately. Now,
that is awesome, dude. That is so awesome, man. That is very deep shit right there. Just like a computer almost in a weird way, like computing and crunching numbers. And
yeah, James Gates, he's he's some type of physicist, but James Gates, he was one of the dudes that kind of first started realizing that as he was studying quantum physics, and he started to run into, as he said, computer supercodes. He's like, why am I coming across computer supercodes when I'm studying quantum physics? Like, this is insane. But what makes this even more crazy is this document that I just read recently. It's a declassified CIA document known as Project Gateway. It was declassified in 2003, originally written in 1980. I also have a documentary on that on Esoteric Eddie TV on YouTube. And it's about a 30-page document. And the CIA, pretty much, they're studying this dude by the name of Robert Monroe. His institute is still up and running, the Monroe Institute. They teach you through some 30-day course or whatever, how to astral project, how to reach the higher realms.
Oh, what? Where?
Yeah, the Monroe Institute.
Okay, dude. Now I'm all.
We're going to camp.
Yeah, it sounds like we're all going to camp. Monroe Institute. There it is, dude. There. Okay, man. Daddy's gonna learn how to astral project. Get the fuck out of this shit. Man.
Well,
let's do it, dude. Let's do it.
So the CIA was studying his stuff and trying to break it down and explain it in a scientific, logical way on how this could be possible. And it's a 30-page document. It's pretty dense, but it's worth a read, or at least check out the documentary I made. And what they conclude is just fascinating. And what I love about it the most is that they own up and admit in the document that the mystics of the past and the ancient mystics were right all along about what they've been trying to tell us about the nature of reality. They were just explaining it to us through the right brain, the creative brain.
Oh my God.
Dude, the prices are right here.
How much is it?
$2,100 for 6 days, 5 days, 6 nights.
$2,100. You got to fly out and go learn?
Yeah. I mean, where
is it?
I think in Virginia.
You guys want to go do it?
But they have like beginner, beyond meditating, the getaway voyage. Like there's different prices. They're giving you a deal. Like they have that for it all. Remote viewing, basic, virtual.
We should first contact them and see if they want to enter into some kind of ads for space camp.
Yeah,
trade.
We'll give you ads if you teach us how to get the fuck out of here.
They got one for lucid dreaming.
Yeah, dude, I'm all in. Done deal. Done deal, dude. Done deal. I love all this, dude. I love all this.
Absolutely. So when I read that document and what they had to say was basically that there's what they call in the document a main frame, what we would call, or the ancients would call source. There is a source, and in that source, infinity exists. And when you reach certain levels of meditation, and your frequency vibrates to a certain level, you actually interact with that infinity, that infiniteness, because the way wavelengths happen, right? They go slow and fast, and the higher you vibrate, the faster your frequency wave is, and each frequency has a stop, what's called a rest point, and only infinity can exist at the rest point, because time, what the document says is that we exist in the time-space dimension where everything's an illusion, but in infinity, all things exist. But in frequency waves, you can only exist in that place of infinity at the rest points. So when you vibrate higher, you have rest points that are closer together, meaning you are closer to source, you are closer to infinity. And if you were to vibrate so high that your vibration would look like a line, a singular line on an oscilloscope, you are completely inside infinity. You are connected to source directly.
Shit.
I believe it. I totally think that, man, going back to the higher frequency you are, the closer you are to source. The lower frequency you are, the farther away you are from source. I completely and I believe all that.
Yeah, and where it gets even wilder.
Come on, man.
Yo, in the document, I mean, it's fascinating stuff, but what's crazy is there's just this one sentence where they say, basically, I'm paraphrasing, the participant must prepare themselves before going towards the higher learning processes, because you may come across lower vibrational entities.
Oh, shit.
What does that mean?
That's all they say, and they just skip right over it.
Can we get some more info?
Yeah, back it up. Beep, beep, beep. What's going on there? So that means, like, are they gonna trick you, bro? Are there people to trick you? Not
it's like in the Bible where they just skip over giants. You know, like, oh yeah, there's some giants there, and then this other stuff happened, and blah blah blah.
But you know what what reminds me of this is, like, the whole theory of how you come to this realm, or better, when you die, right? You see the light. The archons tell you to go back into the light, which brings you back here, right? Which is most likely, in my humble opinion, the moon, which caused you to be born again. And the trickster, they trick you into doing that.
So if you go, you're going to come back?
Yeah.
So let's say, God forbid, you met your in today, and your family was there, telling you to go into the light. What's your decision?
B?
Yeah. What's your decision?
She's like, Sammy, come here. I got baklava. I'd be like, give me that baklava. Bam, I'm right back here.
Yeah. It's hard. That's a hard one.
Yeah.
That's a hard one not to listen to Grandma B.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. So take that, right? We take that into consideration, and then we look at what Carl Jung taught us. Carl Jung, a lot of people like Freud when it comes to psychology, right? Because he was like the cocaine, like bad boy or whatever, talking about sex. But I like Carl Jung more. He was like the esoteric psychedelic dude. And he's the one who stumbled upon the collective subconscious. So right now we are all interfacing together in the collective conscious. And we all have our individual conscious and our individual subconscious. And we also have a collective subconscious where all like weird dreams and fantasies and thoughts exist and can exist. And in the document, the CIA document, they say that there are different dimensions, and that all these weird thoughts and things and archetypes of our own minds and collective minds can get trapped in those dimensions and start to create their own little worlds or their own little things. So what I think is, like, for example, I think the DMT realm is a real place, and it's one of those dimensions where all these weird thoughts and insecurities are getting trapped. And that's when you come across these gestures and elves and whatever.
So, but you can get trapped there, dude?
It's possible. I mean, it's possible. You can get trapped there. And you know what's wild is that the Egyptian religion was all based on what are known as the pyramid text. The pyramid texts are a number of like all these inscriptions on certain pyramids, not the big pyramids, but these other pyramids, I think at Saqqara or something. But that's the source of the Egyptian religion. But all the pyramid texts are literally preparing the king or anyone for that transition. And they say the same thing. They say you must prepare for this transition because you may encounter the judgment. You may encounter the demons. You may encounter that might trick you. So you need to be mentally, spiritually prepared for this transition onward to heaven, or what the what the pyramid text titled the planet or the place of the million stars.
I mean, how many books am I going to buy today? Now I'm going to read about the pyramid text. Yes. Answer is I'm buying it right now. Okay. I mean, what am I going to do, dude? What am I going to do?
Why don't we put a fucking bookshelf here?
Yeah, I would like to do that.
So at least these people believe we're buying these books.
I am buying these books. I bought many books today, dude. Yeah, and I'll get to them someday. We were talking before. Was it you that? Yeah, we were talking about how, like, as a man, you kind of get depressed that you're not going to make love to all the women.
Oh, that was Broken Sin we were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, right. You get really sad. You're like, oh, man.
It's just too many.
You know?
We were talking about all those women at that Dutch festival, that music festival.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh,
you're just never going to make love to all of them. And it just makes me a little sad.
Unless we are all the same person, and then we're just all making love to ourselves all the time.
Will Chamberlain tried. He got to 20,000.
Props to him on that, too.
Yeah, he gave it the best shot for mankind, and he fell well short of probably, at the time, there's probably, 1.5 billion women out there. So, hey, props to you for trying. You didn't even put a dent into it, but you tried. That's how I feel about all these books now. Like, am I going to read all the text?
Also available in audio, by the way, the pyramid text. So if you want to go to YouTube and listen
I'm going to start with the Book of Enoch, and then I'll work on the pyramid text after. I mean, it's just so much, bro. It's just so much.
Yeah, so going to Carl Jung, right? If we're taking this into consideration. Now, Carl Jung actually wrote a book on UFOs and his take on UFOs. And when I read that, along with what Jacques Vallée had to say about it, right? Jacques Vallée, he's been like the world-renowned UFOologist for many years. Both of them have a contradictory conclusion on UFOs and aliens compared to the rest of UFOologists. They both kind of think that this phenomenon of UFOs and aliens is more conscious than physical. And Carl Jung, being a psychologist and coming up with the collective subconscious, realized that these things are coming from the subconscious for some reason. The same way that a person who experiences trauma might experiences hallucinations or certain things in their life. Humanity experienced something in our past, and these entities, or what we are calling entities, might be interfacing here because of this collective subconscious that is calling them here. And Jacques Vallée kind of agreed with that. He noticed that this is more of a conscious phenomenon. And Jacques Vallée said that whatever these things are, they're trying to get us to create a mythology about them so that our minds can work them into our reality.
What?
Damn, dude. Damn.
So we're creating them?
Yes. But they're trying to get us to... It gets down to everything, man, which is permission, right? Like, everything needs that permission to come into this realm or to reenact, which is what basically false flags are, right? It's like going back to the movie Lost Boys, where the head vampire has to be invited in. Which goes back to the laws of the universe from the Kabbalion. It's all mental. So a false flag, right? Look what they're trying to do. They're trying to create a crisis in the Ukraine, and they want us to mentally agree that there's a crisis. So now that would make it a crisis, which means they can now go deal with the crisis.
Yeah, absolutely. And it all goes back to like archetypes and what the CIA document tells us is that our archetypes exist in these dimensions, and they can pretty much they're pretty much Okay, so archetypes in these dimensions are pretty much spiritual AIs that can become self-reflective and then formulate and then manifest.
So they need us to manifest them.
Absolutely.
Damn, dude, that's everything. That is everything. Manifestation is everything.
Yeah. And by the way, in the document, they talk about manifestation and they claim that it is real. It is a real science, but it needs to be done a certain way, pretty much from the standpoint of confidence and already imagining it happening rather than begging.
So say that one more time.
The document, the CIA document, admits that or claims that manifestation is a real science, but it needs to be practiced a certain way where you pretty much do it in confidence and are imagine it already occurring rather than begging or pleading for it.
Make it happen.
That's crazy shit, dude. I mean, this is one of my favorite episodes. I could talk about this shit all day because I think it's real. I think like that goes back to what I'm saying, man. It's like, I don't know what's real. I just don't want to apply law of attraction, model of abundance, love thy neighbor with discipline, everything. I vibrate at a higher level. Man.
Yeah. So with the occultists and, people playing with fire, trying to summon things, they're playing with this science of quantum physics, magic, and psychology, which are all terms for the same thing. We're playing with this science we don't fully understand, and we're calling and summoning things here we might not want to interact with.
Dude, you call it, it comes.
I mean,
it comes.
I mean, let's go back. Like, it's like the Ouija board. Go play it, and it comes to you.
Yeah.
It haunts you, and then some people be like, it won't.
I say it all the time. Biggie Smalls, man. Biggie Smalls. You sing about getting shot enough, you're going to get shot. And I'm regretting, I probably said that 1,000 times that now it sounds like I'm calling for it. I am not calling for it.
John Lennon did the same thing, dude. Come Together, that the part you can't hear is him going, shoot me, because they were having like a long session or something like that.
Oh my God, they played it over and over again.
Yeah, that's
wow.
real.
Damn.
And he was always afraid that he would be shot too. And
but you didn't help. They put out the universe on one of the most popular songs of all time that got played 1 billion times. Oh, dude, get out of here. Hey, Esoteric Eddie, I gotta tell you something. You made a real fucking hard push for the fucking Mount Rushmore.
Oh, dude, he's on there.
You made a hard push for it.
Hey, I'm honored, man.
You made a hard push for it. I mean, dude, I could do a whole just podcast on all this shit. Like, this is my favorite shit because it just lends you know, and like, I know, I get it. I know you guys, if you stuck with us this long during the show, okay, I know you're going to be yelling that this is all the devil's work, but I'm just telling you, man, it's super interesting, dude. And it just fits into what I've been practicing, and my life has gotten so much better. It's never going to be perfect. That's not this realm. It's never meant to be perfect. You'll never have a flight that doesn't have a little turbulence in your life. It's just the way this life is. So, man, you keep talking about your YouTube channel. Tell them where they can find you, Esoteric Eddie.
Absolutely. Instagram, Esoteric Eddie. I post some content on there that's not on the YouTube. YouTube, Esoteric Eddie TV. Going strong with several documentaries right now. Got plenty of cool things in the works. And I have a Twitter. Not going to be too active on there, to be honest. But if you want to, it's Esoteric_Eddie. And also the book, Lucifer Mystery Revealed, on Amazon. Hardcover, paperback, Kindle, or you can hit me up on Instagram if you want a personal signed copy.
Well, man, you came, you saw, you dropped the hammer of the gods on us. Make sure to send me all those links, Eddie, because I know if the people are into what I'm into, you're gonna get a ton of love because this was a great episode, and I got your book, I bought it. You know, I think I bought 3 books today. That's how you know it's a good show when I just start buying books. But thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you. I hope to see you guys. So thank you, Eddie. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
bud.
yeah. Thank you.
I hope to see you guys in Simi Valley and then in Moretta. Okay, come see me. Come get weird. I love you guys very much. We'll talk soon. Take care. Have a great day.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Tinfoil hat.